Hey everyone, welcome back to Mr. Geopolitics, and today we're going to be looking at the latest developments in Ukraine. And today is actually the best day for Ukraine in a long time. Ukraine has liberated a few villages, and we're going to start off by showing you basically in the Kherson area, in the north of the Kherson area, Ukraine has been able to liberate the town of Vysokopilia. And this town is in the far north. It was actually somewhat of a salient sticking out in Ukrainian territory, and the Ukrainians took full advantage of that. They also used a Bayraktar TB2 Turkish drone for the first time in weeks or months, I think. The footage of that is on my channel if you want to see it. And they were able to take the town after a few days of struggle. They basically cut off the Russians they struck from the east and west and from the north. And from the east and west, right here where I'm pointing, they cut off the Russians. And the Russians tried sending reinforcements to their forces who were stuck in Vysokopilia, but after a few days the Russians decided to withdraw. So their forces withdrew, and here on the right you see the Ukrainians have planted a flag. Over what? This soldier is planting the Ukrainian flag over the local hospital. Very brave of him, knowing that it's an unlikely target. But anyways, this is a big win for Ukraine. And obviously they were able to attack from three sides. But the next targets, I think, will be a little more difficult, because if the next biggest target is this town, Arkhangelsk, then you have the Ingulets River on the west, which acts as a natural barrier. And this river acts as a natural barrier for all the settlements that Russia controlled. Notice all the Russian-controlled area is on one side, all the Ukrainian-controlled area is on the other side, on the west side. So the Ukraine's on the west, Russia's in the east of this Ingulets River, which acts as a barrier. In this case, in this town, the Ukrainians will only be able to attack from the north and from the northeast, but not from three directions like Vysokopilia. Anyways, I'm not sure if the Russians will even bother if they're going to try to take this town back right away, because it is a salient. It is sticking out like a bulge, and it's surrounded by Ukrainian territory. So it's always difficult to keep settlements like that, right? The difference with this settlement is that, again, you see that the Ingulets River acts as a natural barrier. Velika Alexandrivka. Yeah, so that's the difference. And there's a forest here, which is good for defenders to hide in, right? So, anyways, we're going to zoom out of this. That's a win for Ukraine. They finally put out an image, put out some news, the Ukrainians. Now, we're going to look at the David Brid area. Okay, David Brid. So this area, Ukraine initially took control over Suki Stavok. And for those who don't know, afterwards they went to the village of Kostromka, and they try to expand in this direction right here, eastwards, and they try to go to Brukinsk. And they did that mainly to cut off this T-2207 highway or road, which connects to all the frontline settlements which Russia controls across the Ingulets River. So that was a vital lifeline for Russia, so the Russians forced the Ukrainians out. Then the Ukrainians went to this town, this village right here, And then they were able to, from there, go and take this village right here. But since they've been pushed out of both those villages, so now, according to some sources, they still control this town of Kostromka, yeah. So according to many sources, they still control Kostromka. Now I'm going to show you, this is the live UA map, right? I'm going to show you another map by Rybar, the famous map maker. And this just came out today. He put this out today. So according to him, on the David Brid area, in the David Brid area, the Russians were able to cut off Suky Stavok. And he's, I think, one of the only people saying this. So according to him, Suky Stavok has been cut off, and the forces in Kostromka are now encircled by the Russians. And you see all these bomb symbols, explosion symbols. So the Russians are bombing the heck out of Ukrainian reinforcements. We could look at another map. According to this map, this is Suky Stavok, and this is the militaryland.net map. So this shows they control Suky Stavok, but not Kostromka, which is different than what Rybar is saying. And this map, this is the ISW map. This is Suky Stavok, and according to them, they control Kostromka, Ukrainians, and a little bit to the south. So this map, this map, this map, right, all showing the same thing. So according to the Russians, basically, the town of Bilohirka is under Russian control, according to Russian sources. And also according to Russian sources, the town of Bilokrinitsia is under Russian control. And after it was isolated for a little bit, the Russians were able to reconnect to it. And so they control Bilokrinitsia. But, I mean, it looks like it's a very vulnerable position. The Ukrainians could attack from basically four sides, right? So this looks like a vulnerable position unless the Russians are able to establish a more solid bridgehead, maybe by controlling the territories here. But here there's a forest, so that might be a little difficult. But it seems that if the Russians do control this area, they must have built a pontoon bridge here and use the forest as cover to go here. Anyway, so according to the Russians, they control these two villages. And for those of you that don't know, recently the Russians, what they did is the Ukrainians had 3 pontoon bridges over the Ingolets River. So they made 3 pontoon bridges and they crossed to send reinforcements. The Russians destroyed all those bridges, okay? Then the Russians built their own pontoon bridge across from Blahodativka, and they attacked Ternivka. So they built a pontoon bridge to Ternivka. And the Russians took Ternivka, but were not able to hold on to it for long because the Ukrainians quickly sent reinforcements from this town right here. They sent reinforcements, and then what ended up happening is that the reinforcements quickly pushed the Russians out of Ternivka, and the Ukrainians were able to cross the Russian pontoon bridge, which the Russians left intact. They didn't destroy it or use artillery on it, which is peculiar, but they let them cross, or if that's one way of looking at it, or another way of looking at it is the Ukrainians just were too fast, they beat them to it. Anyways, the Ukrainians crossed that pontoon bridge, and they had a backup plan, and they brought some trucks with concrete and stones and whatnot, and in the shallow part of the river, because they didn't want to cause flooding, in the shallow part of the river, the Ukrainians poured concrete, stones, sand, just to solidify the ground just enough for armored vehicles and tanks to make it across. So they used the Russians' own pontoon bridge. They poured sand and stones, concrete, whatever, solidify the ground a bit over the river, and they crossed. And the Ukrainians crossed, and they successfully took Blahodativka, and that was like a day or two ago. So the Ukrainians took Blahodativka and established another crossing, and there's a road from Blahodativka which goes basically to Suki Stavok. So the reinforcements, including some people are saying Leopard 2 tanks, German Leopard 2 tanks from Italy, which Italy gave to Ukraine, are now in this area. So that's according to some sources. Those are reinforcements which are heading to Suki Stavok. But according to Rybar, the Russians are pounding the hell out of this area. And you see on his map, there's also the bulge, which this little bulge right here, Bila Krinitsia and Bilohirka. So according to him, the Russians have been able to isolate this pocket in Kostromka. So the Russians are fighting back. They're not giving up by any means or crumbling or anything. Now, I'm going to make this a quick video. So we zoom out. We zoom back in. Now, there's contact all along the front line. Okay. And there's siren alerts all over Ukraine, as you can see with these blue round symbols. Not all over, just a couple. The Russians are launching missiles at some vital targets. But anyways, yeah. So in the Seversk area, the Ukrainians have also liberated another village. And it's interesting because this village is called Ozern, and this village is across the Seversky Donets River. You notice how in the Kherson front, the river acts as a natural barrier. Well, here, the river also acts as a natural barrier. You see the river, you follow the river, and the Russians are in the north, right? Using the river as a natural barrier. The Ukrainians are in the south. But anyways, it looks like the Ukrainians have crossed the river using a pre-existing bridge. So you see this road here. There's a road here. And this road, there's a bridge right here. And the Ukrainians crossed. And the Russians didn't try to stop them. They didn't launch artillery or anything, which some people find peculiar. But I don't find it that peculiar because, okay, so now the Ukrainians are in Ozern, right? And this might give them a lot of hope, a lot of enthusiasm, so they might pour in more troops. But where are they going to go? If they follow the main road, well, there's a forest, and we know that forests are excellent for defenders. They're excellent to hide equipment in. They're excellent for snipers, ATGM teams, right? So that's one option they have, but there's a forest right there. And there's also, seems like a little lake, which acts as a natural barrier as well. And then, so if the Ukrainians want to go west, they have to follow this, not the main road, but another smaller road. And then you have to go in between this forest area, which the Russians can use for cover, and then the water, which is like basically they have to go through this gap, which could end up being a kill zone. On the other hand, if the Ukrainians don't want to take the main road through the forest, which is a kill zone of its own, then the Ukrainians can go a little more to the east, and they might have crossed. Yeah, the Ukrainians might have also crossed through this bridge as well. So they likely used both bridges, but anyways, the Russians didn't stop them. But I'm explaining the reason why, because let's say the Ukrainians come through here, and then they want to avoid the forest, so they go north. Let's say they want to go north. According to this map, they already control some of the forest, but the Russians are obviously sending reinforcements, and controlling a force is difficult. But anyways, if the Ukrainians don't want to go through the forest and they want to go for the next settlement that's in the to the east, which is called Yampil. So if the Ukrainians want to avoid the forest and go through get to Yampil maybe through this road, then they still have to go through this gap. Here's the water, the Seversky Donetsk River, and then there's the forest right here, which the Russians can use as cover. And there's some water in between too, so it's kind of a narrow gap. So that could be another kill zone. I don't know what the Russians are going to do, but I'll tell you one thing. One of the Russian generals, who was, I believe he was in charge of the Ukrainian offensive. He might have been dismissed. I'm not sure at this point, but one of the Russian generals, his name is Dvernikov. He's called the Butcher of Aleppo. Let me show his picture. Should have had this prepared, but I'll show you now. So, this man right here. Come on, man, my internet sucks. Yeah, so this man right here, that's even smaller. But anyways, General Dvernikov, he is called the Butcher of Aleppo. And anyways, to get to my point, one of the tactics which he loves is the Mongol tactic of a feigned retreat. So that's when you engage with the enemy a bit, and then you pretend to retreat, just so the enemy chases you and breaks their cohesion, breaks the enemy breaks from their lines, and they chase you, and then you turn around and you encircle them. And that's one of his favorite tactics, a feigned retreat. Basically luring in the enemy by pretending to retreat and then turning around and encircling all the scattered troops. So anyways, guys, I'm going to keep this short. That's it for today. The Ukrainians have liberated 2 or more villages, but the Russians are also fighting back. Actually, wait 1 second. One thing I will mention, I know I'm yapping, but the Ukrainians keep bombing both bridges here. From you notice in the Kherson region, from this area which the Russians control in the south, to get more to the north, they have to cross a bridge, right? They have to cross a bridge to avoid this river. So to avoid this river, there's 2 main bridges: the Antonivka Bridge and this other bridge right here, Kozatsky Bridge. And this also has a dam. There's also a dam here and a rail line, and apparently that's out of commission too now. The Ukrainians keep bombing it. So what options do the Russians have? Well, their options are if both bridges are damaged beyond repair, or if they keep repairing it and the Ukrainians keep bombing it every day anyways. And by the way, the Russians also built a pontoon bridge, but the Ukrainians bombed that too. So the Russians have a few options. They could establish multiple pontoon bridges, right? That's one option. They could ferry equipment across using ships. And luckily for the Russians, they could also, basically every Russian tank, every armored vehicle like BMPs, every infantry fighting vehicle like, for example, like BTRs. So tanks and all of their armored vehicles and infantry fighting vehicles, Russian tanks and whatnot, they can all do river crossings. Not like into the ocean, like they can't sail really, but they can do shallow river crossings. So I'm sure that across this river somewhere they'll find a spot where it's shallow enough and they can cross. And it only takes apparently a few minutes to set up for a crossing. There's a part you put on top of the tank or armored vehicle, and then you just cross. And so the Russian crews are trained and they can get their equipment across like that, because apparently the Russians are sending reinforcements. And also I gotta mention this, also on this line right here, where they're fighting for the Donbass, for the Donetsk region. Basically, the Chechens have sent reinforcements, and the Chechen reinforcements are here now, and so apparently they're doing a rotation. So there's like something like 20,000 fresh Chechen troops that are going to come here, and the leader of Chechnya, Ramzan Kadyrov, has promised they're going to take territory, including Seversk and Soledar. And usually when he says something like that, from what I've seen in this war, it happens sooner or later. So the Chechens have sent 20,000 troops, and the Russians have sent a corps, the Third Corps. And the Third Corps is already on its way to the front, and they have T-80s, T-90 tanks, and apparently Iranian drones. And they're going to number a corps numbers anywhere from 25,000 to 45,000. So let's do the math. That means the Russians are sending 40 to 60,000 fresh troops and equipment to the front. And I've seen images of this. It's all online. Some Ukrainian pundits are actually panicking. But yeah, it's going to be harder to get, if they split their forces, right? Don't send them all in one area. It's going to be harder to get across across the Dnipro River than it is to get just to the Donbass. The Donbass they can get to quickly, but the Ukrainians have made it somewhat of a challenge for the Russians to get across the Dnipro River. But like I said, the Russians have options, and I don't think they're going to give up. So anyways, guys, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, share, and comment. And I will see you in the next one. Thank you, and goodbye.